Hello, nice to have you with us. Welcome to another edition of the Coaching Hour, brought to you in proud partnership with Coaches Network South Africa. Lovely to have you here. I'm Paul Rotherham. I'm joined by Mary and Mareka for this another edition of our informative and educational podcast. Well, at least we hope that that will be the case. Nice to have you here. Remember to chat with us in the comments section and, of course, like our page and promote this video. We would appreciate that. Nice to have you with us. Our guest today, Mareka, you're going to introduce Megan.
Thank you, Paul. Yes, we have again with us Megan Hudson. She is a dog-loving, tree-hugging business and marketing coach, specializing in inspiring and empowering coaches to accelerate marketing and sales, upscaling their business. So thank you so much, Megan, for joining us today. We haven't seen you in quite a bit, so it's nice to have you. How's things been?
Good, thanks, Mareka. Had a bit of a quiet patch because of personal health issues, but I'm back with a bang, and it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thanks, Megan. We are talking about an interesting topic today, and I think being, still kind of the beginning of this year, especially for coaches that is listening today, and also for the public that's listening, because many people out there still not 100% sure about what is coaching. But we are talking about the forecast for 2025. You said you did some research on this, so we would like to know a bit about your findings.
So I think, it's easy to split the coaching trends that I look at in my, annual forecasts into two groups. The one group is the trends that seem to continue from one year to the next, and the other group is emerging trends. And I'm sure that on everybody's minds, the minute I talk about emerging trends or forecasts, we all start thinking about artificial intelligence. So I do go into that in quite a lot of detail, and I've got a lovely word that one of the prominent coaches in the world has contributed towards coaching and its attitude to artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm. So, trends, is it for niche in the niche kind of area, or is it coaching trends looking forward in terms of what people need?
It's my predictions of the kind of landscape in the coaching space. So where we are now, but also looking forward to what people are going to be expecting or asking from the coaching fraternity.
Interesting. And what is different from, the past, for example,
Well, let me start with what has remained the same.
Yes.
Okay, so the coaching profession continues to grow. It seems to be something that attracts people to it. I do always say that we need to be quite judicious about how we define coaching, because there are those of us who've undergone coach-specific training, and we have a certain way of being in our relationship with our clients. There are a lot of people who are coming into the industry calling themselves coaches who really are mentors, or who are, doing some kind of training and don't have the formal coaching training as we would accept it. So coaching continues to grow. And in fact, the ICF predicts that there are in the region of about 110,000 professional coaches in the world. That's looking at the membership of all of the professional coaching bodies. So the likes of the International Coach Federation, the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, Comensa here in South Africa. People, when they talk about professional coaches, these are people who've undergone some kind of accreditation and assessment of their skills. There are a lot of people who are still calling themselves coaches who fall outside of that. So the coaching, but it's a good way of measuring growth in the coaching profession. And I think also one of the other things that continues to change but remains the same is a few years ago, the World Economic Forum identified a number of critical skills And certainly, I came across a wonderful article by Noah Harari, who wrote that book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. And he says that what we should actually be focusing on is the 4 C's. So critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. And I feel like coaching really fits beautifully when it comes to developing, expanding, and enhancing all of those skills. So I'm very positive about the future of coaching. I do think that there will continue to be a need for it, and in particular that there will continue to be a need for in-person coaching and not AI chatbot coaching, which I'll deal with shortly.
Question for you, Megan. You mentioned 110, roughly 110,000 coaches worldwide. What's the South African landscape looking like?
So from what I've heard, South African coaches seem to be shifting towards the global coaching economy. And the 110,000 that the International Coach Federation estimates would include South African coaches. The numbers in South Africa have seemed to have consistently more or less averaged at around 2,500 to 3,000 coaches out there practicing as coaches. We need to also remember that even though we have a lot of students graduating from the various coaching schools at any one time, many of them are employed full-time in corporates, and they're using coaching as part of their leadership style, as part of their management style, or they've undergone coach training just to get to know a little bit more about coaching because they are responsible for rolling out coaching programs within large organizations. So not everybody who undergoes coach training becomes a professional coach. I know that's a bit of a long way to answer your question, but I hope it does.
No, it's good because I've always been, that's a lie, not always. I am often cynical about certain career choices and fields of work. I mean, I myself being in radio for many years, people used to look at me and say, get a real job when you're going to do something real that involves being stapled to a desk from 8 to 5, which to me is the worst possible way of earning a living in the world. And I think things like being a real estate agent and to some extent being a coach fall into that bracket where people don't really yet view it as a serious profession. I know the coaching industry as a whole has taken a lot of hammering from other professionals in the medical world, for instance, where psychology, psychiatry, and other professional counselors look at coaches and it's often just poo-pooed, which I find very sad because I think there's a massive amount of value to be shared and had from the coaching world.
I'm glad you brought that up, Paul, because I do think that as coaches, we are working with people's well-being and developing their thing. I mean, coaching at its core develops emotional intelligence, so we are working with people at their core, and I do think that as coaches we always have a responsibility to have a level of psychological literacy. And I think that that is a hallmark of a good coach. It's something, if I was looking for a coach, it's certainly something that I would, want to tick that box.
I know when people have done construction, there always used to be this talk of having a builder who was registered with the NHBRC, I think it was, the Home Builders Regulation Council. And I don't want to in any way badmouth them because I don't know much about it, but the builders I have spoken to used to just pass that off as a load of rubbish because it was often a money-making scheme to give them a certificate that didn't mean very much. What's it like in the coaching world, in all honesty? Do these certificates and memberships actually mean that you are dealing with somebody who's more professional and better equipped?
Ooh, you're asking for a strong opinion coming up here. And my answer to that is no. I do think that people are able to jump through the accreditation hoops, but it doesn't necessarily make them a really, really good coach. On the flip side of that, I do think that people who have gone to those lengths deserve the credit for having done so because it does require a lot of time, dedication, and effort. And I do feel that it is a mark of a coach's commitment to their professional practice and professionalization of the coaching industry, if they do belong to a professional body and have undergone the accreditation process. So, it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to get the very best coach, but it certainly means that the coach that you're working with is prepared to put in the time and effort to jump through those hoops. So, yes and no.
Oh, I appreciate your honesty. And I think that's something that we need to be known for. And I think until now we have been known for on this show, is sometimes asking those hard questions that do address issues that people have, because we're all in the coaching space. We get it. I've experienced it firsthand. I'm sure that the three of you have as well. But there are people who still look at this with much skepticism. Oh, it's another money-making thing. It's for housewives who are at home bored, who need a bit of extra pocket money. Those are some of the real perceptions that we deal with. I'm sure, Mareka, I see you nodding. I'm sure you've had that experience or been exposed to that.
Yeah, I think my exposure is not personal towards me, but I think there is a kind of perception that if, I don't have anything to do better with my time, let me become a coach and then I'll make money, which is not the case, because as Megan you do marketing for coaches and so on, you still have to be an entrepreneur. So there's, like you said, Megan, there's now two options. And this is quite, I think, something new, is where companies are employing coaches, on a permanent basis, which I found something that's relatively new in the last year or two. But as a coach, you still have a business to run. And even though you did a coaching course, doesn't mean you'll be successful. And like Megan said, the responsibility is upon yourself to make sure that you're skilled at a certain level, because you work with people's lives. But that is up to the client then, obviously, their responsibility to make sure that they do their homework in terms of their own type of background check, if I can call it that.
Also, it's very much a human thing. And I know we're going to get onto AI, which I find very interesting, Megan, because I'm using that in a lot of work that I'm doing. But I think it's very much a personal, or it is absolutely a personal relationship. So if I was receiving coaching, for instance, my preference would probably be to have a coaching session with someone who, yes, does know what they're doing, but first and foremost, someone who I can actually communicate with and who I can resonate with and who I have a relationship with. You could come to me as a coach with all the credentials in the world and a wall full of certificates, but if we don't connect, that's meaningless.
And again, you've honed right in on something that research has shown, and there's been a lot of research on this, that one of the key success factors in any coaching relationship is the chemistry between the coach and the clients.
Very true. Now, to touch on a bit of AI, because obviously, or maybe before we get there, is there anything else that us as coaches, need to look out for in terms of things that's going to change? Because I do think the online world, which I, for example, didn't embrace that much yet, at some point, we need to look into that.
So one of the things that I find very exciting is if we look at, again, recent research done by the ICF, there's been greater and greater penetration of the African continent. And particularly around COVID, a lot of coaches were pivoting, hated that word, to becoming global online coaches. They were looking for clients, South African-based coaches in particular, I'm referring to here. We're looking for clients in Europe, the UK, the States, and the sort of Australasian area. But if we look at how much bigger the market has become on the African continent, I think that as South African-based coaches or African-based coaches, I think we've got an enormous amount of work to do here. And I find that really, really exciting, because I do believe that Africa holds an enormous amount of promise for, in the world. I think that time is coming for Africa to really step up as a continent. And it's just exciting to know the coaches will be able to be part of that whole journey and transformation. The other thing that we continue to see is coaching specialities, and particularly more and more so now, is developing subject matter expertise. So even if we just look at the online, when it comes to online marketing, and remember that I'm viewing a lot of the things that that come across my desk with a marketing lens, we know that all of the algorithms, the social media algorithms, the Google algorithms, and so on, are looking for original content and subject matter expertise. And those are the kinds of websites and social media profiles that the algorithms are driving traffic to. So it again makes the argument that developing or specializing, developing subject matter expertise in particular areas and becoming known for a particular style of coaching, type of coaching, or coaching in a particular field, I think that certainly stands us in very good stead. But if we move on to the big hot topic of AI, the fifth industrial revolution, and how that's going to impact the coaching profession, there's a professor, I think she's at Brooks University, Dr. Tatiana Bachkirova, and she's written quite a lot fairly recently about the impact of AI on the coaching profession and whether or not these coaching bots have a space or place. And she's actually quite anti artificial intelligence in the coaching world, and particularly for coaching, to replace coaching. She uses the most wonderful word. It was apparently word of the year in 2024 called she refers to it as the inshittification of coaching. So I'm not swearing, okay? I'm just quoting it. But basically, what that means, or what her argument is, that the introduction of AI chatbots as part of, even if it's something to supplement the coaching that we do or to replace human coaches, is dumbing down the coaching profession. It is lowering the standards of the level of transformation that coaching can deliver. And her argument in the long term is that there's going to be a little bit of a kind of a response or reaction to this, and certainly that artificial intelligence is never, ever going to take the place of human in-person coaching.
Yeah, I think it's a valuable tool, and this is perhaps a topic for a future Coaching Hour podcast, Mareka. I think to bring in an AI specialist, that could be interesting. It's a hot topic, as you say, because this isn't just the coaching space, or it isn't just the coaching space that's being affected. I look at my dealings with retail at the moment, particularly online. Trying to speak to a human being when you have a problem is pretty much impossible. There's a massive online platform. They've been around for many years. It starts with a T and their logo is blue. Good luck to you trying to speak to a human to help you navigate any troubles you have. Absolutely everything that they do is all incorporated online. It's chatbots. It's, I guess, to some extent AI. And while I think as a business, because with a business hat on, I can understand how that helps. Why should I have 30 bums sitting on 30 seats taking up space, giving me gray hairs when I can implement AI? So to some extent, I get it. But the user experience is just non-existent. Do we go back? In some cases, yes, because we don't have any alternative. But I think in the coaching world, it is people dealing with people. It's not people dealing with, dare I use the word, robots. And I know that's perhaps not the correct terminology. And I do think there's a space for it. I think there is a way to embrace AI. I do a lot of scripting for our business. We run a retail radio business, for instance, where we still use real voices who come into a studio and record scripts, but I use AI to assist me with script writing. So if I need to promote a certain product and I need to do that in 10 different ways, AI is fabulous because it goes out, it trawls the internet, and it comes back with some nice creative ideas and some suggestions for what I could do. I don't let it write everything word for word, but I use it. Oh, yes, sure. That's a great angle. So I think if we embrace it in that way and don't allow it to take over completely, there is space in the room for AI. But if you had an automated coach program or app, for instance, where all you did was interact with a chatbot, I can't imagine anybody wanting to use that.
Yeah, and I think, as much as, so there certainly are some very sophisticated and well-developed models out there. In particular, Dr. Nikki Terblanche at Stellenbosch Business School has developed Coach Vicky, and that chatbot, the bot, has undergone rigorous testing and retesting, in terms of the kinds of transformation results that it delivers. So I think again, we are talking, as we were talking, earlier we were talking about, does everybody who belongs to a professional coaching body, does that automatically make them a good coach? No. Every chatbot, is it automatically a good tool? No. But a lot of people do report, and I know I've had a personal experience with coaching an AI bot that one of the coaches has developed, and I tested it out. And I know that it certainly gave me a lot of room, a lot to think about, and stuff to take away and journal on. And one of the recommendations around using artificial intelligence and coaching bots is that it can help coachees prepare for coaching sessions. So kind of question them deeper and deeper into thinking about something and identifying themes to bring into the coaching sessions. And they're also very, very useful for kind of keeping the relationship warm in between coaching sessions. So I think the way that we integrate them into our overall coaching offering is the most critical thing, rather than relying 100% on them, if it is something that will add to and supplement what we are offering as in-person coaches.
Yeah. So what I think is also that it might be generational, in a sense that if you work with teenagers, for example, a lot, or younger people, that is so used to AI, and I think it will be great for them. I'm not sure if my generation, I don't know, will be comfortable with chatting to a bot. I don't think so. I might be incorrect, but it depends, I guess, on the person.
And then we've also got to take ethical considerations into the mix. For example, where is the information being, held? All of the answers that you as the coachee put into the chatbot, like how responsibly is that information being stored? The whole data privacy conversation, then comes to the fore.
No, it makes sense. In terms of coaches, is there anything that you could, maybe some advice that you can give, to coaches that maybe needs to, obviously, you still have to embrace the online world. You can't ignore it completely. How to get going there, and also the public, so that they have to do their homework to make sure that they have the best fit for themselves.
I do think that there are many tools that are useful for us in our coaching practices. So the automatic transcription, to take notes, Otter AI, Read AI, those kinds of things. Obviously, again, we've got the data privacy conversation, but if you do have the client's consent, those are amazing tools to be able to use. They things like Calendly for booking, automating the booking of appointments, chemistry sessions, with potential new clients. So there's a lot of tech that we can use to make ourselves more productive. So my personal opinion, again, and this is just me, is I think I would say, is this tool going to make me more productive? If it ticks that box, I would definitely look at it. Because not every technology tool is a time saver because you spend so much time learning how to use it. And yeah, exactly. So they're wonderful rabbit holes to go down, but like, is it going to make you more productive? Is it going to make you more effective? And if it ticks those boxes, then certainly look at it and consider it. Um, is the use of a coaching chatbot going to enhance your coaching offering? Maybe the question there is, who is your target market? And you, as you said, Mareka, the younger generations are far more au fait with technology, far more comfortable with using technology. So will that kind of hybrid mix of artificial intelligence and in-person work appeal more to that kind of a market? So it's all around considering, like, what is it, who are we working with, and what is it that they want and need and will respond to?
True.
Mary, who looks as if she's driving to Durban, she's been in the car for a while now. She's probably just going 10 Ks down the road. That's what traffic's like these days. I saw you had a question or a
Yes,
comment.
it was about that personal touch. You know, nothing can ever replace that. I get very frustrated when I have to talk to an AI chat, you know, like the banking chats, and it gets frustrating because they're not actually understanding what you want and what your need is. It's all based on around the question, but it's not elaborated because there's
Yeah.
so many other little nitty-gritties that aren't actually covered. So that
100%.
you end up with not having what you want, and that's even more frustrating. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I've never used a AI coaching bot, but I would be very frustrated if I wasn't being understood. It would make me feel worse, and I'd walk away feeling even more frustrated than I was when I started.
Again, Mary, I think we're talking about different levels of sophistication. And I think if you use a really, really well developed one that has been developed from an ethical perspective with that is client centric in terms of how it works, then you'll have a completely different experience. These kind of bots that are mass rolled out by organizations where they haven't really taken into deep consideration what the client experience, the customer experience is going to be. I know recently there's been an upgrade to Eskom's chatbot, Alfred, and I find him quite frustratingly chatty now, over chatty now when I'm trying to just log a fault. He wants to almost know my blood type and everything, and I just want to get straight to it, do the job, and get out of there. So if anybody is on this call or watching this video and is in the process of developing something, please remember you're not developing it for yourself. You are developing it for your customer, and you need to sit with a customer set of glasses on and rigorously test and retest the experience. And that's another area that I identified as quite an important area for, like, quite an important differentiator. Again, we're going back to relationships, but what is your customer experience? How can you make that customer experience as good as possible? And ultimately, we know that 80%, as much as 80% of our business will come from word of mouth referrals. So how do you create brand advocates once you have gone through the whole client relationship? How do you leave those people as the people who are going to be your fans and spread the word?
I'm having a chuckle still about Alfred. I have as little to do with Eskom as possible. I think they are possibly one of the worst brands I've ever had any interaction with. And for me, the fact that somebody somewhere probably got paid a handsome sum of money to develop Alfred. I just find that quite comical. Of all organizations, of all the things that they could be focusing on to fix their business. Who knows? I'm speaking with no idea of what went on in the background, but I just find that funny that Eskom has so it's an AI bot. You interact with it on the website, or what is it?
Oh, so yeah, it's got its own little URL, and if you have a power outage and you need to report it, you go on. But it's become so friendly these days, Paul. It's just uh, it's wrong. And you get this whole, how are you today? And obviously the only reason why you're using it is because you have a problem, and invariably you're in a little bit of a bad temper because we rely on electricity so much just to do our work and get through our days. And then it's got a whole lot of prompts that come up. You put in your account number and everything, and eventually it gives you options around, what you need to report, confirms everything, and you come out of it with a reference number. Not necessarily with a solution or resolution, of your problem.
So you come out with a reference number that probably at some point reaches somebody's desk anyway. So why could you not just speak with that person in the first place? And this is where I think companies get it wrong. It's pointless implementing all of these things if you still have the bottleneck. All you've done is move the bottleneck further down the line. And somebody somewhere has probably made a lot of money out of it as well. It just, yeah. Bring on the solar.
This is where that lovely word that Tatiana used, the enshittification of client service and client relations, where that's happening, because exactly what you're describing, you aren't necessarily leaving with like a warm and fuzzy feeling that somebody's going to get onto it straight away and resolve your problem. We've also got to remember that large organizations are looking at more and more efficient and cheaper ways of doing things. So for them to introduce any kind of automation where they can would make sense in terms of the bottom line and, delivering profits for the shareholders.
Although I think you only see those numbers way down the line. I think that implementing something now, and I know this isn't a business show, implementing something now that appears to be a quick fix can turn around and bite you in the bum later. Because just as I mentioned, the online provider that's been in this country for years and years and has a blue logo, they don't have the monopoly. And in fact, after my headaches, I gave up and I went somewhere else and I got the same thing for the same price, delivered way more efficiently, in a fraction of the time. And so guess what? That's now opened up my eyes to the possibility of using their competition. And if that's how I'm thinking, I can tell you now, I'm not alone. There will be other people doing the same. And yes, it might be a fix for now. You don't have all those bums on those seats anymore because you've implemented a new system. But yeah, I think we're very quick to jump onto this AI or any technology without actually fully understanding what the repercussions are going to be for our business. I really do. I mean, I'll give you an example, and this is not in any way to promote the business. In our business of doing retail radio, we can now create voiceovers where if I played it to you, you would battle to distinguish whether this was an AI voice or a human. And I'm not talking, because a lot of people perhaps haven't experienced this, I'm not talking about the old days of when your Garmin used to talk to you and it was very clearly pre-recorded or automatically generated. I'm talking about full-on voiceovers where it sounds, you can even teach it. So I could clone my voice. As Paul Rotherham, a voice artist, I could teach it my voice. And I should actually do a test to see what happens. Somebody could send me a script and I could use this AI voice program to sound just like me. The question is then one of ethics. Do we now remove humans from this whole process and have all our clients actually still paying what they're paying, but we're giving them AI voices? And what happens to the voiceover industry? What happens to all the people who are earning money from doing this as a living? And that's true of any industry. Look at the artists. I look at what AI is able to generate now visually, video content, you name it. I think there are thousands, tens of thousands of jobs that potentially can be replaced by AI. Will the net result be the same? Superficially, perhaps, but the moment you start going a little bit deeper, no. That's my view. And it's going to get better. AI will get better. It's already improving massively very quickly. And the better it gets, the better it gets. It's that non-stop cycle. But I don't know. I'm hesitant because I think there's as Mary said, there's that human factor that's just not there.
I think, again, if we keep our customer experience as one of our golden rules, what is the customer experience going to be like? Or am I developing this to enhance the customer experience? I think if we keep that as our core focus, we probably can't go far wrong. And certainly when it comes to AI, some of the more useful areas for us as coaches, Jonathan Passmore, also he's a lecturer at one of the international universities, and he says that AI can contribute towards coaching, become like a coaching co-pilot by assisting in the coach matching, the matching process, helping to identify the best, the best match between coach and clients. We can also use AI to help recommend future learnings or additional resources to our coaching clients. So again, broaden the depth of their good customer experience with us as coaches. He says another space, and I've spoken about this a little bit earlier, is acting as a reflective tool in between the coaching sessions and helping the coachee to continue the learning and not just one coaching session to the next, but also that transformative learning in between. So all of these are not using artificial intelligence and technology to replace the coach, but using artificial intelligence and technology to enhance the customer experience. So that's, I think that's important for me. And then, Paul, what you were talking about now with using artificial intelligence to train it to speak with your voice and to be able to not replace you, but certainly to be another version of you. One of the key risks that the World Economic Forum identified was misinformation and disinformation and how we deal with that in the future. And I think, things like fakes or, cloning ourselves using artificial intelligence, we've got to be very, very careful about how we use it and making sure that we still remain authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very important. For me, authenticism is very important. I once had someone approach me to ask me, if I want to kind of, they create a bot that looks like me, sounds like me, and then you create like an online course. And I'm like, you know what, it's not for me because I want that engagement, I want that connection. So, but as a supportive tool, yes, if it is developed correctly. So thank you so much, Megan, for this conversation. If there's coaches listening that would like to get hold of you because they have no idea how to get into this space and how to do those developments and incorporate it, in their packages, how can they get hold of you?
You're welcome to contact me on LinkedIn. So Megan Hudson on LinkedIn. Alternatively, you can drop me an email at megan@business-zone.co.za.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, Megan. Thank you, Mary. I hope you get to where you're going safely. This is a long drive.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you. It's the first time I think you've joined us while you've been in the car. We've enjoyed the experience. It's quite funny. Whenever you see a video of someone in a car, there's absolutely no doubt that this is Africa. I don't know if you've noticed, you see it in movies, in adverts, in travel vlogs. There's just something, uniquely African about, I guess it's the blue sky and just the buildings and the vegetation and how it is in the background. Yeah, we're definitely in Africa. You might be somewhere else in the world. If you are, and you've been listening to this or watching this, thank you very much. We appreciate you. We like having you here. Spread the word. And remember, we do like to engage with you as well. So if you have any questions, perhaps any thoughts on the topic from today, particularly AI, I think that's a space that we are going to be moving into, whether we want to or not. We can't resist it. We have to embrace it and just be aware of the benefits. If you'd like to chat with us about that, we'd love to hear from you. Maybe you are an AI expert and you've been listening to some of what we were saying and you've been thinking, no, you've got it all wrong. AI is a life changer, whatever your thoughts are. I don't know. Perhaps we could get you onto one of our shows, because I do think there's a definite topic to be thrashed out here, chatting specifically about AI. But thanks for joining us. Thank you, Mary, Mareka, Megan. My name is Paul, and we'll catch you in the next edition of The Coaching Hour.
Thanks so much.